Hi my Bossmas, and welcome to the first episode of the new series on my channel, In Depth. So, like I said before, this is a new series I'm starting on my channel called In Depth. In Depth is basically where I take anything I'm currently obsessing over, from animes to mangas to characters to friendships, anything like that. I just go really in depth about them and I rant about them and how I notice all this. I'm going in depth about certain things. There it is. That's the basic of this. And if you couldn't read the title, this first episode will be focusing on a friendship between two characters in the anime Backflip or Bakuten. Before I dive into that, Bakuten or Backflip is about a boys' gymnastics team where they're in high school and they're trying to win the inter-high and get, move on. It's a high school competition, they're trying to win. And it mostly focuses on the main character, Futaba, who's never done rhythmist gymnastics before in his life but thinks it's really cool, so he's trying his best to catch up to the rest of his teammates. And actually, Futaba is one of the main characters we'll be talking about because this first episode, like I mentioned before, is going to be about Futaba and Misato's relationship in the show. Warning, I'll be talking about their platonic relationship in the show and also their romantic relationship because I personally ship them. Not everyone does, but I personally ship them. So focusing a lot on the platonic relationship and then a romantic relationship, which are romantically very fanon, very like I made this up because they're not actually together in the show. That does not happen, even though it's a sports anime. So it's like no sports animes are straight. No one in sports animes are straight. Anyway, that'll be the topic for today. So yeah, they've just taken over my mind in the past few weeks and I need to get this off my chest. So we're going in depth today about Misato's and Futaba's relationship, platonic and romantic. So, fun fact, I actually filmed this once before, but I wanted to wait until I watched the whole series, and I did, so yeah. So first thing, before we dive into the relationship, we're going to dive into each of them as a separate character. For instance, Misato. Misato is like any Kageyama. We all make this joke, but any Kageyama in any sports animes. He's very closed off, he does not show a lot of emotion, and he's just naturally talented. Not naturally, he practiced on. He's just really good at the sport he does. But we see throughout the series, especially during one episode, he has some trust issues built up, especially when they're practicing a new trick that he once tried with his middle school team, which is why the reason he has so many walls built up. We also see during the series that he always tries to do things by himself. He takes everything upon himself. He wants to do everything himself. And he doesn't mean it in like a mean way, like, oh no, you can do this. He just feels more comfortable doing everything himself. And the reason for that is because we learned in a other episode that when they were practicing the same trick they were practicing then, which opened him up a bit, was when he tried that with his middle school team, he actually hurt one of his teammates in the process, and he realized that, and during that time we can guess that then his teammates got a little bit of like stigma on him because he hurt someone. So now he's scared of hurting someone again and having this team hate him. Futaba, on the other hand, as we see, is someone who just fell in love with the sport because of how cool it looked. So he decided, let's go do this. But he was very anxious even joining the team at first because, he sees all these amazing people who are so good at the sport, and then there's him sitting there, and we see during the series how scared he is of holding the team back, how scared he is that it's his fault that they're holding back, or his fault that they're like this. He blames himself for a lot of things because he doesn't think he's that good. Other than that, he's very much of he's very positive and a very uplifting and happy person. He's literally the main character. And even though he does think he gets hard on himself a lot of the time, the team is always there to bring him up. The team is great. So you have these two characters, one character who is very closed off and reserved, and another character who is very bubbly and out there and likes getting to know the people. Both Misato and Futaba are first years, and they both joined the rhythmist gymnastics team at the school. So they already are in a friendship since they're both first years and the only first years on the team. So then Futaba is struggling to, learn rhythmist gymnastics. He has some of the basics down, but other than that, it's really difficult. So then the team suggests Misato teach him. He's the other first year, he's really good. And Futaba agrees. And during that time when Misato is helping Futaba train and coach him, they start forming a little friendship and they start growing a bit closer together and a bit trusting each other more. Literally, when Futaba first landed his first backflip, who he was thinking about and who he was trying to mimic pretty much is Misato, showing that he holds a lot of trust for Misato in the first episode already. basically, in the first few episodes, they already have this, they have a surprisingly fast bond with each other where they trust each other and they listen to each other very well. And yeah, and then as the series goes on, we can tell that Futaba kind of slowly starts to understand how to read Misato, desperate him not showing a lot of emotion, which helps a lot in a lot of ways. So whenever the team, so I like to imagine that whenever the team doesn't understand Misato, Futaba always comes in and is able to read him very well, which is a very surprising since the two of them have barely known each other they've barely known each other, and yet Futaba picks up so fast on Misato's habits and what he does and like how to read him very well, which is incredible, I gotta say. And then as we go back to the fact of when Misato opened up, didn't exactly open up, but it was kind of shown that he had some sort of trust issues. When they were practicing the flip, the team guessed that Misato wasn't trusting them as a team, when in fact Misato wasn't trusting himself. Futaba was one on the other and that was going to flip off someone else, and so was Misato. Misato was scared of hurting one of his teammates again, and I definitely think more of the fear came from him and Futaba were such close friends, and he was so scared that if he hurt Futaba, he was going to ruin their entire friendship, which he didn't want. So we see him close off again. He doesn't talk to the team, he doesn't open up. Even if Futaba knows something is wrong and goes to ask him, Misato ignores him. He goes so far in not showing up to school or practice and staying home, which the team takes to notice, especially Futaba. So then, when the team notices it's gone on long enough, you know, the coach is gonna go visit him. And the one person he asked out of the entire team, there were three third years and 1 second year. So 4 of the members plus Futaba. The one person he goes to ask to go visit Misato with him is Futaba, the only other first year, and Misato's like best friend pretty much on the team. So and the whole reason the coach picked Futaba was because the team and him know like the bond him and Misato have in such a short period of time. They know that whatever Futaba said will help Misato. They know they have this weird like bond and trust already. They just know that these two have this bond, and it's just, they can pull each other out of this. So Futaba goes to visit Misato and learns a bit about him, for instance his parents. And then when they're about to leave, Misato comes home, and the coach leaves, leaving Futaba and Misato by themselves. So they go off and talk. During that time, Misato opens up a bit more, but in not the way you would think. He starts talking about like, oh, okay, like Futaba is telling him all the stuff he should do, and then Misato says, it's fine, I can deal with it. But most people would just ignore that. Most people are thinking like, oh, okay, cool. Futaba is able to read through the lines of what Misato is saying and read through Misato. So he knew right away that Misato is basically saying, I will take this all up on myself, so you guys do not have to worry that much. So that way it's just me having to worry, and I can do this all by myself, because he could. That's what he thought. Futaba was able to read through the lines of what he said before and read into that, the fact that he was going to take everything upon himself again just so the team didn't worry. And Futaba knew this. That is why during that scene he stood up and started saying, you're just going to take this all by yourself. That's not the point. This is a team, and the team is supposed to help one another. That is why we are here. And then Futaba is trying to figure out the words, and the words he say to help Misato try and understand is be needy. His entire life he's been just by himself. He is, I think if I remember correctly, he is really good at solo rhythm gymnastics and just a group, but he takes everything upon himself, which is exactly what he was going to do with this new flip routine they were doing. So the first words Futaba say is be needy. With most people that wouldn't seem like much, that would just seem like, what does that even mean? But to Misato, what that was saying was, you have to give your trust to the team. You have to ask for help. You have to open up. Be needy. And he was saying it that it wasn't a bad thing, which it wasn't. And Misato was able to understand what Futaba was saying, even though he was having trouble saying it. He was able to understand. And Misato, again, was very hesitant about it. He didn't know about this. And for a second, he was about to walk away, until Futaba grabbed his arm and literally was the force that pulled him back to their dorms to talk with the team. Futaba is the whole reason that Misato was able to go and talk to the team about these issues, about what's bothering him. Futaba is the whole reason of that, and that's because he can read through Misato's lines. He can read when he understands that he's going to take this all upon himself and not help him. He can read him very well, and he is able to pull Misato towards this goal. And Misato doesn't fight against it because he trusts Futaba a lot. I think him and Futaba just trust each other a lot. It's just spare time. And then when they get to the dorms, of course, Misato opens up a bit more. The team understands, they agree to help him, Misato feels a bit better. And then in the dorm, you see Misato open up even more to just Futaba. He opens up about how he's gonna not go to college after high school simply so he can help his aunt. So he's gonna go straight to work. He opens up a very sensitive part of his life, a very, I don't know the correct word, but a very private part of his life he hasn't really told anyone. He's basically opening up about his future and how many people wouldn't, you know, be supportive of that. They would be like, no, go to college. And he opens up of why he's doing this. His aunt, he wants to help his aunt, and he realizes that these are his last 3 years in rhythm and gymnastics, and he wants to make it count with the team. And out of all the people, he's opening up to Futaba, because again, the basic of this entire video is they have this trust bond built up, and it built up so fast, but they have this trust that Misato feels comfortable after those words from Futaba of being needy. He takes those literally. He takes them and he literally starts being needy to Futaba. He starts telling him all this stuff so Futaba can understand him more and he doesn't need to read him any harder than he does. And so Misato starts opening up, and Futaba understands that. He understands what he's saying and he supports him. And they both say that they want to make these last 3 years of rhythmist gymnastics with the team and with the two of them special. They want to just go places with them, and they both understand that on a level, which I think is so cool. And then they do the Renga fist bump. This is what they did on the screen. That is a Ricky longer fist bump if I ever seen one, which is basically confession. That's the whole scene was showing how Misato took Futaba's words literally and started opening up to people. Not a lot of people, but just Futaba at first, because he is the most comfortable with Futaba. He's the most comfortable, I think, to explain how he's feeling, because he knows Futaba will understand him and read between the lines and understand what he is saying truly, which is a whole level of trust I wish I gained. Misato is also able to read Futaba very well. He knows Futaba pushes himself a lot, and I mean a lot, to get where his teammates are. And he always says, oh no, I'm fine, I'm fine. And I think Misato knows, like, no, you are pushing yourself. You can't do this. And Misato is always the one there being like, yo, break. And so then after that, of course, Misato and Futaba, they get that flip down. And Misato is so happy because yes, it took him time, but once he learned to just trust his teammates and to trust that they were going to help him, and if something did happen, they would never hate him, that gave him the courage to do the flip, which he did. And that scene was so beautiful because you could see the smile on Misato's face and Futaba's face, because Futaba saw him trust them. He saw him finally be able to trust him and be able to do the flip, and Misato was just happy because he could do it. He could do it, and it was all thanks to Futaba. And at the end, he smiles and he just, it's great, I love him. Oh my god. Continuing on, in the last few episodes, Futaba, spoiler warning, this whole okay, Futaba actually breaks his wrist, and Misato knows this right away when he wakes up and sees Futaba struggling in bed holding his wrist, and Misato is concerned. He has climbed up onto his bed and is trying to wake Futaba up because of this view. The whole thing was, before he was going to help, fell back, hurt his wrist. Didn't hurt as bad until he fell asleep. He had a nightmare basically where the team was performing and then his wrist got stuck. Crystals grew on them. This is like every fanfic I've read. Crystals grew on them and he was stuck to the ground. And one of his teammates were about to flip onto him, but they flipped through him. Basically, what he was scared of and his whole nightmare is that his team is going to forget and leave him behind if he even does something like that, break his wrist, a simple mistake, because they have enough talent to move on without him. That is his fear, that he's just going to be left behind and no one's going to care. And then we find out he hurt his wrist. And Misato is there with him the entire time. He is there with him when they went to the hospital, because they didn't show up until they probably had to go on, like, I think a couple minutes before. I don't remember. All I know is Misato was next to Futaba that entire time. He was worried about his wrist. Misato was just as worried about Futaba as Futaba was about his wrist, because he was scared he was going to bring the team down. That is why when Futaba went up to the team saying, I have a broken wrist, but I want to perform with you guys, because what if it's the last time we're going to be able to perform? I don't want that. And I feel like usually Misato would be like, no, you're going to do it. Not going to do that. But he understands that Futaba is scared, and he understands that Futaba really wants to do this. And even if they fail, at least they performed one last time together. So Misato jumps in and he helps the team try to understand, like, yes, he is hurt, but he wants to do this. And he starts convincing the team. And then when they convince the coach is like, fine. Even though Misato knows, I think better than anyone beside the coach, that if Futaba does this, there's a risk he won't be able to perform, or it will be so badly hurt that he just can't anymore. Which doesn't happen. Oh my gosh, I was so scared. And then right after, when they finish the routine, Misato takes Futaba right back to the hospital to get it checked out. And he is waiting there the entire time, and he is nervous because he doesn't want Futaba to not be able to perform, because he enjoys performing with him. He has to send Futaba is the whole reason Misato now trusts his team a little bit more, that they won't, he just doesn't want to see him stop. Of course, Futaba comes out fine, and then the teams text Misato like, oh, keep this a surprise, and he's like, are you serious? And Futaba's like, what? And Misato's like, I can't do anything. Either way, when they get there and the team starts celebrating with Futaba because they passed on to the next like round of competition, you see Misato smiling and Futaba crying, of course, but Misato knew this entire time that the team could do it. He had this trust in the team that they could do it. He had this trust in Futaba that Futaba could perform during this and then perform again. He trusted. He knew Futaba very well. They have such a high level of trust that they just trust that they will get through it. And if they don't, then they will be there to help them, which is what we all want. And then of course, you know, this series ended and it's very sad, but you could see when we compare like the first episode of when Futaba and Misato first like got on the team together and first started working together to the very last episode, you see a huge range of growth between their friendship. You see how much trust they have gained. You see the friendship just grow into a friendship you would usually get from someone who was friends since they were middle school. But no, during these like 12 episodes, their friendship has grown and this trust has grown, and they just understand and they trust each other more than anyone else on the team does, which is great, a great thing to do, since they're gonna be with each other for the next 3 years. They're gonna be able to help each other through all of that. They're gonna be able to read each other very well. They're gonna be able to help each other. They're gonna be there for each other every step of the way, and that is great. I'm gonna take a guess here that even after high school, the two of them are still gonna be with each other. When Misato goes to do his jobs, when Futaba does whatever he does, if he takes with him his gymnastics after school and joins a team or anything, they're still gonna be there for each other, and they're still gonna help each other the best they can, because that's the type, because they have this strong bond that keeps growing because of their friendship. It will keep growing over time, because that's just how their friendship works, and that is great. And that adds into their romantic relationship. The romantic relationship would be the exact same thing. Sure, it'd be more coupley stuff and you know, all the relationship thingies, but they already have this such strong sentimental of trust in each other that when they're in a relationship, they'll have trust already. They would have communication already because they've communicated with each other multiple times. Yes, communicating might be a bit more harder because they have such a huge thing of trust, and the communicating is a bit smaller than that because of Misato being closed off, because of him not being able to show emotions. But Futaba, again, can read through those lines, so even when they're having trouble communicating in a platonic or romantic relationship, Futaba would be able to read through those lines and at least try and understand what he's really saying, which can be good in many ways. Basically, the communication would need some work, yes, but thanks to Futaba and Misato's willing to break down his walls and Futaba being willing to help him, I feel like it wouldn't be that long until they understood how to communicate. I mean, they already do. They can say nothing to each other and understand what they're saying, and the whole entire team is just like, well, how'd you get that from that? I'm so confused. Basically, their romantic relationship would be like their platonic relationship, except with the added of relationshipness. And I think if they had a romantic relationship, they would grow even closer. They would start opening up more to each other. They would start spending time. They already spend a lot of time together. They would start spending time with each other more. A romantic relationship would just strengthen their bond with each other and just make this trust and this communication and everything they have in their friendship grow into more. What I'm saying is they have such a strong friendship already that they've built over a small period of time, and it keeps growing, that I would not be surprised if they ever got in a romantic relationship. That it would be, yes, it would be difficult at first, all romantic relationships are, but that they wouldn't have a problem with it because it's a platonic relationship, but with a bit like romantic stuff in there. Yes, communicating will be hard, but Futaba understands Misato. He can read Misato. Misato can understand Futaba. He understands what he's saying and he trusts him. The basic of their relationship is they have this huge thing of trust. And it's amazing to see how that's grown from episode 1 all the way to episode 12. It's great is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is these two platonic relationship is so amazing that if they ever did get a romantic relationship, it'd be just as good. What I'm saying, there we go. There was the rant. They have this found level of trust already. They trust each other and they understand each other really well. More than anyone else on the team, they can read each other really well. They can understand what they're really saying. They can do all this stuff. And they stick together the entire time. Like, they're always next to each other, they're always hanging out because of their friendship they formed. Because Futaba is probably the only one Misato really feels really comfortable around. Yes, he feels comfortable around the entire team, but when he's really struggling, Futaba is there for him, and he feels comfortable around him. He feels comfortable opening up to him a little by little, which is when I'm excited for when the movie comes out, that we see more scenes of Misato opening up to Futaba. Because if we see as more of that happen, again, their friendship will grow even more over time. They will build even more trust. They will even communicate even better as the time goes on. Basically, that's the whole thing, and I'm just really hoping in the movie we see scenes with them where they're opening up and we see them clearly trusting each other. Yeah, that's the rant. That's my rant about Misato and Futaba's relationship. I think it grew really well over time. I think they have this sentimental of trust and communication, and even when it's difficult, and even when they hit a bump in the road or like in an argument or it's difficult, they won't give up, and they'll still try and overcome it. They'll work it out together and not just leave each other in the dust. They will communicate with each other, which is the whole thing you want in a relationship. So platonic relationship is great. With a romantic relationship, it would even grow their relationship they have already even more. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, that's the rant. I hope you enjoyed that. That's been on my mind for a while, and I just thought it was a really fun thing to do. And put your own thoughts of what you think of Misato and Futaba's relationship, or anyone's relationship in the show down below. I'd love to see what you guys think of it, or like other things you've noticed, or yeah. And I'm gonna say this right now. they definitely might have tiny crush on each other. Literally in the last episode, Misato put his, like, this is just me going off now. Misato put his hand on Futaba's shoulder. I'm like, there was no reason you needed to do this. Anyway, that's the rant. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Comment down below your thoughts of Misato and Futaba's relationship, romantic or platonic or both, or anyone else's relationship in the show, or any character. Just rant in the comments below about anything that's been on your mind lately. And, you know, I love to read those. Those are always great. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. Though, if I get enough, like, traction on this, and if a lot of people enjoy this, I will be doing more episodes, because I have a lot more stuff in this brain. If you hear my Stars Align, like, Stars Align, I'm obsessed with Stars Align right now. Like, that came back full force. Like, I will... So basically, if I get enough, like, love on this video, the next episode will most likely be something about Stars Align, because it's a great anime. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Again, put any of your opinions or any rants you would like to just down in the comments below. I'd love to read them. Hope you guys enjoyed this first episode. Tell me anything you want to see in the series. Any other series you want me to talk about, or characters or relationships, preferably with shows I watch. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry it wasn't a cosplay video, but I thought this would be a good mix, and I honestly am really excited to continue the series. So yeah, that is it. And I'm zoning out. That is it. Rant below, subscribe, like, because I love seeing engagement. You guys really make me happy a lot, and we have really close to 1,000, which is insane. But yeah, that is it. I will see you guys next time, and keep on bossing, my Blossomers. Bye!